This video is brought to you by HalloCasa. Our tool transforms independent local real estate agents to global real estate agents. Create your own profile for free and get contacted by international investors. Sign up with the link in the description. Hello and welcome everyone to our 187th session of HalloCasa. My name is Michael and today I'm talking to Andrea Buettner-Wardell. Andrea is the founder and principal broker of Wardell Holmes Real Estate, a powerhouse brokerage serving domestic and international investors across Missouri, Kansas, and Colorado. With over 200 million closed transactions and a reputation for turning every deal into a strategic investment, Andrea brings unmatched expertise in real estate as a vehicle for building legacy and wealth. She launched her career during the 2008 financial crisis, which shaped her resilient investor-first approach to real estate. Today, she leads a team of over 20 agents and continues to champion smart growth, historic preservation, and long-term client success. Andrea, welcome to the show. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
So my name is Andrea Buettner-Wardell. As Michael had stated, I am the owner-broker of Wardell and Holmes Real Estate. We just had our 7-year anniversary. However, I've been in real estate since 2008 and excited to kind of chat about what we do in this marketplace and nationwide and globally and internationally for our clients. It's an exciting time to be in real estate if you can pivot and understand how to watch the market. And so starting in 2008 is becoming a little bit more similar in some senses to today with the economy. But, you know, we are ever growing and very thankful for our buyer and seller clients and looking forward to continuing to change the industry with hard work and goodwill.
Sounds great. Give us an overview of Kansas as an investment location right now.
So we are officed in Kansas City, Missouri. However, we work on both sides of the state line. So there's a Kansas City, Kansas, and a Kansas City, Missouri, but then there's also about 25 different submarkets. So we really will work anywhere in the states of Kansas and Missouri. And I do have my broker's license in Colorado as well. I keep that active, although it's not affiliated with Wardell and Holmes, but I keep that active because a lot of investors, because of the proximity from Colorado to Kansas or Missouri is so close, it's a safe investment choice, and the prices here in this market versus Colorado are much more favorable. I would say that what I'm seeing right now in the market as of today is that what I would call the urban core, which would be Kansas City, Missouri proper, if properties are under like between the range of like 100,000 to 275,000, you're seeing a little bit of an exodus of the owner occupant buyer. And that could be for a number of different reasons. Could be because of interest rates. It could be, you know, this I'm just going to wait situation. And then you're seeing multiple offers on more of the suburban markets, which are driven by price point of, I would say like 400 to $1 million, and or school districts. You're still seeing a lot of heavy activity. There's a lot of inventory right now, and that is exciting for buyers and investors. You're seeing a lot of investors throwing out offers that they would have never had a Hail Mary to do in the last 3 years or 4 years. And it doesn't mean that the sellers aren't getting what they need, but the sellers are now back into a place of needing to negotiate. Whereas before it was, you know, like, here's my arm, here's my leg, I don't need any contingencies. And the sellers were really, really, really coming out on top. There was a market correction that needed to happen, and we're there right now. Education for your buyer clients and your seller clients is paramount. I've never seen more deals fall through because of the first-time home buyer mentality of they're already kind of nervous, you know, and then they do their inspections. And I just did a post about this recently. A home inspection is a necessity. You should always do an inspection. It does not mean that the house is in peril condition or it's falling over. It is a negotiation tool, and it is a manual to you to know what you are getting yourself into. You need to pay for a home inspection. You don't recoup that cost, but you need to know what it is that you're getting into. And I've had a couple of deals recently fall through because of inspections, and I can't force a buyer when I'm representing the seller, a buyer's agent, to push their client to get to the finish line but it was really frustrating to me because there should have been a conversation of renegotiation instead of just giving up. Simple things like a GFCI outlet in the kitchen. That's about $10. A TPR valve on a hot water heater. That's about $10. A loose cabinet above a microwave. That's about $10. So you get this big inspection report, and that inspector works for the buyer. They're going to find anything. If your house was to get inspected today, if my house is to get inspected today, it would be 50 pages or more. But that doesn't mean that it is a nightmare walk away from. But if you don't know how to communicate about this to your buyer clients or your seller clients or agent to agent, you're just wasting time and money.
What are other normal pitfalls for first-time buyers, which you come across a lot?
So we try to be very formal in everything that we do here, because I think that especially with technology and with AI and different platforms for real estate, people get inclined to use the internet as their resources for guidance and education. So they will use certain platforms like Google or Zillow or whatever it might be. We want to sit down with a buyer, whether they're a first-time home buyer or an investor, if it's at all possible, to go through what it is that we are providing. What is my role in this? What is your role in this? Here's some education on different acronyms. This is what I do every day. This is not what you do every day. All questions are on the table because this is a big deal. And if you can meet somebody and you can sit down with them face to face, it is so much more important to have that trust and start that relationship than, we get a random lead through Zillow, right? So, hey, I need you to sign this agreement, but you don't know what you're signing. I want to talk you through that. I want to see if I want to work with you. Let's do a formal consultation. And that really goes a long way, because then people don't say, well, I didn't know, or I didn't understand, or they get a DocuSign or a dot loop and they're just click, 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 and they're signing something. But this is a partnership, whether it's a buyer or a seller. And so it's very important to make sure that everybody's on the same page and setting that expectation. No different in many ways than if you were going to a law firm and you were going to a doctor's office. You need to sign, the certain disclosures, and you need to know who you're working with and why you're there. And you hire a real estate professional to guide you. And that's really hard to do if it's like completely through email or phone call. So we try to be as formal as we can from a consultation standpoint, because that sets the precedence for a relationship. And that's what real estate is a relationship.
Since you said that, I came across one saying, which I was reminded of, which is called less haste, more speed. I really used to like that. And it really sounds like that, because probably there are a lot of real estate agents out there who say, oh my God, I got the deal. Let's close him. Let's bring the fish home, as fast as possible. And you're actually doing it a little bit the other way around. It's like, hey, listen, like, let me qualify you. And I know, like, in the end, if we don't do the vetting process on both sides early on, we're going to waste so much of time afterwards, and the deal is not going to go through. Becomes my question, have you done those learnings yourself early on? I mean, you came and started off in 2008, and you seem to be very wise in your words, and generally this doesn't come from nowhere. Was that the case?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first started, I was, working a number of other jobs, like in restaurants and bars, and I did some property management for a commercial real estate company. And I was doing some studies as well. When you get your real estate license, actually, let me rephrase this. I was very hungry. I was excited. I was like, whatever. Yes, I'll go show you this person who maybe is not even ready to buy 15 properties because you're hungry. And that actually is a good and a bad thing. For your point, Michael, where you say like less haste makes more waste, or vice versa. If you actually sit down and think about, is this the right time for this person? And you stop going into the guise of, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, I want to go show properties. You will vet out the people that are going to waste your time. And in addition to that, there has been some changes from a practice standpoint after the NAR lawsuit effective August 17th. of last year, where to show a buyer any property, you have to have an agreement. It could be just specific to that one. Prior to that, it was kind of like, all right, I'll meet you at this first property. We're going to kind of get to know each other. We're going to see how we take it from here. So less of an upfront commitment, but the formality of the commitment actually has been a good thing, in my opinion, because people that are serious are the people that you want to work with. And that goes from the brokerage side and the buyer or seller side. It's a partnership yet again. And so if you just say, hey, I'm bored and I want to go look at all these houses, and you're a brand new agent, you're just wasting time. So having that consultation and having that upfront expectation as to the roles and the responsibilities will translate into a relationship and also into profit.
Tell me where I'm wrong within our lawsuit and the mandate right now. Is it that we work exclusively together, buyer's agent and buyer, or does it comprise more things?
So there's nothing that has changed from an industry standpoint, although I think that's a common misconception. The only difference from a buyer's agent standpoint is prior to the new changes, if you were going on the MLS and I was setting up a showing on a particular property as a buyer's agent, I would see on the MLS what my compensation would be. It would be stated there, a certain percentage. Now, I don't know what I'm going to get paid. I ask for it within the offer, if I'm writing up an offer for a buyer client of mine, and then it's a negotiation. It's always been a negotiation. There's never been a set fee. The, I guess, greater difference is that before you could show a property without having a written authorization to do so. Now you have to have a written authorization to do so. And you also have to acknowledge on the company that sets up the showings that you have a written buyer's agency agreement. So, Michael, if you called me today and you said, hey, I want to go look at 1234 Main Street at 4 o'clock, I would say, okay, just so you know, that's not my listing. The seller has their own agent. I'm happy to represent you as a buyer's agent. I will set up and have to set up a buyer agency agreement, and it could just be specific to that one showing. And then we get to see each other. We get to look at the property. We figure out what the goals and expectations are. And then if we wanted to extend that or make it more broad, we could. But I could not just randomly show you a property without having an agreement. That's that I would say the biggest difference. Although before you would write up an offer for any buyer, you have to have an agreement. Now it's before you show.
Verifying with the buyer, not with the seller or seller's agent.
Right. So if you called me on my listing, I could open the door for you, but I represent the seller. And that's all there is to it. You would have an opportunity to be unrepresented, get your own representation, but I still only exclusively represent the seller. But a lot of times buyers, like I use Zillow as a platform for lead generation. A lot of times buyers go and they think they're calling the listing agent directly. I think there's a common misconception that if you go straight to the listing agent or seller's agent, that maybe as a buyer, you're going to get a better deal. But the agreement between the listing agent or seller's agent and the seller is their agreement. It has nothing to do, nor does that agent have to, reduce or modify their agreement with the seller. So it's a matter of do you or do you not need representation? But across the board, if you want to look at a property, you have to have an agreement to be able to show a property.
Let's talk about the difference between Colorado and Missouri/Kansas.
It's all the same. So the authorization to show property is nationwide. It's not state specific. It's based out under the National Association of Realtors. In Colorado, I would say Colorado market is suffering. I do not actively list or help buyers there. I keep my license active because I have it, and why not? But furthermore, a lot of investors come to Kansas City because the prices are more favorable. I get probably 15 to 20 emails a day from agents, whether it's in Kansas City market or Colorado market. And it's becoming almost a little bit like, I don't want to say desperate, but it's like price improvement, open house, or buyer incentives, or there's a bonus. And that's because inventory is sitting there. And so agents are doing things that now that they probably didn't have to do in the last several years. Open houses were just like, I don't know, when I started, yes, you do open houses. Now it's like you have to do them every weekend because the market is not as active as it was. The Colorado price point is probably from an average market standpoint is probably double to Kansas City. And, the investor is not attracted to that price point. The owner occupant may not be attracted to that price point. So you're seeing a lot of creative, but also like extreme levels of flyers and emails and all these things because people are scrambling around a little bit because things are not as easy as they were.
What's the root cause, in your opinion? What's the reason for that?
My opinion of that is actually interesting to me, but this is my opinion. You know what they say about that. They're like assholes and everybody has one. I think that the market was very, very driven by, let's call it institutional or Wall Street type of buyers, right? Which we have worked with and had a very long-standing relationship for a decade plus with one fund in particular. So they fed the market by going cash as is, way over list price, no inspections. We're going to buy up everything. And then they starved it. We're going to stop. And we're going to wait for all the owner occupants to do just what we were doing. And now all of a sudden you've over hedged your skis in a sense. So the interest rates were low, or it was a cash offer from an institutional buyer. And all of a sudden everybody's going crazy because if everybody wants it, everybody wants it. If nobody wants it, it's supply and demand. So then they starved the market. They just said, let's wait. They had an economical approach and a historical approach versus an emotional approach. And then they waited for interest rates to go up, for, inflation, recession. And then they said, well, the market is now going to turn back into our favor. We're going to keep waiting and we're going to come back and pick up the low-hanging fruit. And that's my opinion.
You have so many nominations, certifications, so many awards. How did you manage to collect all of them?
Some of them are just collected by, they send an email, right? Like, for instance, like stats and metrics for agent productivity, like would be like Top Agent or Real Producers, which is a publication of like, top 200 brokerages. So it's just all driven on data. I would say most of it is the success of my team and myself, combined and included. We try to make sure that we stay relevant to certain platforms like Business Journal. We're 100% women-owned business. So there's some certain, perks to things of that nature too. But I would like to say that it's because my team and what we do is good, honest work, and we work very hard, and I'm very proud of that.
Last Friday, I talked to Ali from Toronto, Mississauga in Ontario, and he is Remax. He has his Remax branch. And we talked along about the benefits of becoming also a franchisee. You are one of the people who decided to stay independent and you're not belonging to a franchise. However, you are managing to create a trustworthy and credible brand, and it made me reach out to you with a team which, doesn't have a lot of turnover. What's your reason to stay independent until now?
So that's a really, really great time-sensitive question. So I've been approached over the last several years from some very, franchise, big box brokerages, and they go about it and like they want to start entering into a marketplace, right? So if you're with a international brand or a global brand or a franchise brand, you're not going to pick up another competitor like that. You want to find the boutique firms so that you can get your, footprint into that arena. And then now you become the franchisee or whatever it is. They go about it as we want to talk about buying your company. Well, the fact of the matter is buying a company versus me buying into your brand, yet I still hold my office place. I still manage the team, but you're giving me like maybe some additional software or brand recognition. That to me at this point right now, unless there was a solution of monetary value or management value, it doesn't make any sense because I don't need to align with the brand so that you can get your foot in the door and your platforms and your software. That's fine. But if I'm still operating the same way that I am and you're not paying me, I'm paying you, that just doesn't work for me. One thing that I found to be very interesting is the brokerage that I hold my license with in Colorado, which is HalloCasa Real Estate. That's probably the largest boutique firm in all of Denver. I would say, and I may be wrong on this, but I would venture to say 1,000 agents, multiple offices, and the former owner principal, Lon Welsh is his name. He is a economic genius, financial advisor, and in addition to that, manages a real estate investment trust. So he sends so much value in emails, like different articles, metrics, and I watch and look at all of that, and I share that with my team here. Recently, they made an announcement that they were actually franchising to another company. So when I saw that, initially I was like, oh shit, because he's so smart on the economics and on the way that, the world is turning. To me, although he's not the owner anymore, that was kind of an aha moment because if they're going to that route, that gives me a little bit more of a heads up what's coming our way for the real estate market, because they didn't need to go that route. They chose to, for whatever reason it might be. And I'm not saying any disrespect, but that was a shock to me. And so I shared that with a couple of my team members here because I'm like, all right, well, they're doing that. And he's the smartest person I know in that arena. What's going to happen to other companies such as mine?
You also have the possibility to allow investors to invest along you. Give us an overview there, how that works if I want to become like a shareholder or like invest along your portfolio. How does that work?
Absolutely. So there's a number of different ways to invest. So I have clients that do joint ventures. So maybe there's a project or a new development, and they say, I just want to put, a certain percentage towards this, set it, forget it, and then they have their dividends. We have clients that buy multifamily, single family. We work with a few groups that are specific to A-class rental properties, and they're in the doctor field or they're in tech, and they just we want to just put some money somewhere where we can make a return. We don't have an investment trust or a REIT set up through Wardell and Holmes, but we work with every type of investor, and we also work with traditional owners and sellers as well. But there's a type of investment that's specific to what your goals are. So 15 years ago, I would say, the return 12, 15%, fine. Let's go ahead and cut that in half now, but you have to see what the risk tolerance is and what the reward is and what the client's goal is. Do you want to do a flip property? Do you want to have a property that maybe you have a little return on, but your bases are covered and you don't have to worry about it because of the age of the property? So there's no real exact way to invest. It really depends on what the client's goals are.
How does it work? You bundle the several people together, or you have something which you invest anyways, and then you say, okay, you just need to invest like at least a certain amount, and then you do a term sheet with that person?
Yeah, it could be property specific. It could be project specific. We have, like I said, clients that even I have a couple of joint ventures with some partners out of Denver where I brought them in on an entertainment bridge, which is called the Rock Island Bridge, which is in Kansas City, Missouri. And it's going to be the largest entertainment district, which is between Kansas and Missouri, which is kind of a metaphor because there's a Missouri River. So Kansas is on one side of the bridge and Missouri is on the other. And it's going to be shops and restaurants, live music. They're going to have boat races. They're going to have hiking trails, biking trails. And so my clients out of Denver, they split the initial investment into this. So this is a legacy project. It's as far wide as the St. Louis Arch is tall, and it's going to be open, 365 days a year. So this is like a legacy investment or a passion project. Those same investors also have done some joint partnerships with me on some of my personal properties. And then we have clients that, are buying portfolios. We have clients that are selling portfolios. So it's kind of matching what the investor's goals are and figuring out where to place them. So there's not like, hey, you give me X amount of dollars and you're investing with Wardell and Holmes. It's what are your goals? What do you want to see from a return standpoint? How long do you want to hold this? Is it a renovation? Is it a buy and hold? Is it a legacy project? And then we match that up with the opportunity for you.
Andrea, thank you so much for your time today. I learned a lot. You gave us a nice overview of the Kansas real estate market. Or Kansas City / Missouri / Colorado real estate market. The very interesting element of tips for first-time buyers and also their obstacles and how basically they have to overcome it. I love your approach regarding a strong vetting process and your consultative element in order to make sure that you're not going further ahead the sales process and then realize, okay, it's not going to work anyways. I really like the idea of you staying independent. I am, to be honest, I'm a fan of that. And still very intrigued as well to hear that other people's also join the franchise world. And lastly, I really appreciate your insights regarding the investment vehicle which investors can use in order to maybe be a bit more, let's say, passive and say, I trust you as much, so go ahead and we sign the deed or we sign the agreement and you take care of the rest. Is there anything else you would like to share with the audience which we haven't touched upon?
No, I mean, if anybody wants to get a hold of us, I would presume that we could put the website into the comments. But it's Wardell and Holmes Real Estate, and my name is Andrea Wardell, and I'm very thankful to be on this podcast. I think any conversations, no matter if it's a podcast or a buyer or a seller or a random person, if I can learn something or meet somebody every day, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So I thank you very much, Michael, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Andrea, and say hi to the German parents. And
Good.
I definitely will put the information to the show notes so that people can directly reach out to you.
Do you know by any chance the song Schnitzelbank?
No, I don't.
So that's the song that my family sings. We've sang it at a number of German festivals, and I'll just give you a little part of it. Und ein Schnitzelbank. Ja, das ist ein Schnitzelbank. So
very good. I'm going to have that. I'll definitely have a look. And thank you so much, Andrea. And sending the best regards to Kansas. And also a lot of success to you.
Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. This video is brought to you by HalloCasa. Our tool transforms independent local real estate agents to global real estate agents. Create your own profile for free and get contacted by international investors. Sign up with the link in the description.